Do you know why most goals are never achieved? It isn't lack of talent, it isn't lack of time. It's because the people who set them talk too much about them. I'll show you why silence multiplies strength, and why your results will always speak louder than any words you could say. In this message, I'll show you why talking about your plans too soon drains them of their strength, and why silence is a builder of power. You'll learn how words can deceive the mind into feeling progress where none has been made, why most people fail by announcing too much and acting too little, and how to turn quiet, steady action into a force that guarantees results. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how to guard your energy, direct your focus, and let your results become your voice. We live in a world of endless talk. Men talk about what they want to do, what they're going to do, what they hope to do someday, but when the years pass, you find that most have done none of it. They mistook words for action, and they mistook noise for progress. But achievement is never in the talk. Achievement is in the doing. And here's the strange truth. The more a man talks about what he intends to do, the less likely he is to actually do it. Because the mind, once it has been flattered by words, relaxes its effort. It feels as though progress has been made when nothing has been done at all. That is why silence is strength. That is why action, and action alone, produces results. In the next 80 minutes, we'll look at the law of silence and action. First, we'll uncover why talking about your plans too soon drains them of their power. Then we'll examine the psychology of action, how doing, not speaking, builds momentum. We'll look at the difference between talkers and doers, and how life always rewards one while punishing the other. We'll see how attitude and discipline guard your energy, and how persistence keeps you moving until your results speak, louder than anything you could announce. And finally, we'll lift our eyes to the larger purpose, to see that your results are not only for yourself, but for the service you render, the contribution you make, the mission you fulfill. Along the way, I'll share examples, parables, and stories that will make these truths unforgettable. And if you stay with me, you'll leave this message with more than knowledge. You'll leave with a plan of silence, discipline, and action that can transform your life. Here's something most people completely miss, and because they miss it, they spend years wondering why their plans never materialize. Talking about your plans is one of the quickest ways to kill them. That may sound strange at first, because we've all been told that sharing our intentions makes us accountable, that speaking about our dreams somehow makes them stronger. But the truth is the opposite. The moment you talk too much about what you're going to do, the mind is tricked into believing progress has already been made. You feel a glow of satisfaction, as though the work were already half done, when in reality, not a single step has been taken. Let me paint the picture for you. A man decides he wants to start a business, or write a book, or get in shape. He feels the spark of enthusiasm, and instead of putting that energy into action, he begins to talk. He tells his friends, he tells his family, he tells anyone who will listen. They nod, they smile, they praise his ambition, and he feels good, too good. That praise, that recognition, becomes a substitute for real progress. His brain relaxes, his energy drains away, and before long the plan has lost its power. He may still talk about it for weeks or months, but the fire is gone, the steam has escaped, and nothing is left to drive the engine forward. Think of it this way. A kettle filled with water builds up pressure, and that pressure can move an engine, turn wheels, drive a train across the country. But if the steam is released too soon, it makes a lot of noise but moves nothing. Talking about your plans is like letting off steam. It may sound impressive, it may make a little noise, but it robs you of the pressure needed to act, and without that pressure, the engine never moves. Now let us set the stakes clearly. If you give in to this temptation, if you speak too soon, too often, too freely, you will lose the very energy you need to succeed. Your mind will grow satisfied with talk. Your friends will think well of you for your big ideas, and that will be enough to keep you comfortable, but never enough to make you successful. And years from now, you will look back and realize you have talked much, promised much, dreamed much, but done little. But there is another danger, and it is this. When you speak of your plans before they are strong enough to stand, you expose them to criticism, to doubt, to the envy of others. You hand your fragile idea, still in its infancy, into the hands of those who may not understand it, who may even laugh at it, and their doubts, their questions, their ridicule plant seeds in your own mind. What was once a spark of enthusiasm becomes a flicker of uncertainty, until at last you abandon the plan altogether. Not because it was impossible, not because it was unworthy, but because you talked about it too soon. So here is the lesson. Guard your plans until they have roots. Let them grow in silence. Feed them with action, not with talk. Let your work be the proof. Let your results be the announcement. The man who works quietly will always surprise the world. The man who talks loudly will always disappoint it. And this brings us to the next great truth. If talking weakens action, then silence becomes the builder of strength. If words drain energy, then quiet concentration multiplies it. And that is where we must turn next. If talking weakens action, then silence becomes its strength. Silence is not emptiness, it is not passivity, it is power conserved. It is energy held in reserve, pressure building within the engine until it is strong enough to drive the wheels forward. When you remain silent about your plans, you preserve the energy that talk would have dissipated. You keep the fire inside, and because it is contained, it grows hotter, more concentrated, more powerful. Silence is the soil in which your plans take root, protected from the harsh winds of doubt and criticism. Just as a seed planted in the earth grows quietly, unseen, until one day it breaks the surface with undeniable strength, so your goals grow best in silence, shielded until they are strong enough to stand on their own. Think of Thomas Edison. He did not announce every idea, every experiment, every invention to the world as soon as it came to him. If he had, the ridicule of others might have discouraged him, the constant chatter would have drained his energy, and the public failure of each small setback might have stopped him altogether. Instead, he worked quietly, persistently, day after day, until the invention was finished, proven, undeniable. And then the world saw the results. Edison's silence was not weakness, it was strength. His quiet was not emptiness, it was concentration. And because he chose to let his results speak, they still speak today. Now let us see what silence really does for us. First, it protects focus. When you talk about your plans, your attention scatters. You begin to imagine the reactions of others, you begin to defend your ideas, you begin to explain instead of build. But in silence, all that energy is reserved for the work itself. Every thought goes into the doing, not the talking. Second, silence shields you from doubt. The moment you share your plans, you invite opinions, and most of those opinions will not strengthen you. People will question, criticize, even mock what they do not understand. And if your plan is still tender, still growing, their doubts can kill it. But if you remain silent, your plan grows stronger, fed only by your own faith and effort, until it is ready to stand in the daylight. Third, silence multiplies impact. When you finally act, when the results are visible, they surprise everyone. And surprise carries more weight than explanation ever could. So, let me ask you, are you protecting your plans in silence, or are you wasting them in talk? Are you letting the seed grow unseen, or are you digging it up again and again to show others, only to find it never has time to take root? The man who learns the power of silence learns to build steadily, without distraction, without dilution. And when his work is finished, when his results appear, they will shout louder than all the words he might have spoken. And that brings us naturally to the next truth, for silence alone is not enough. Silence is preparation, it is conservation, but it must always lead to action. Words may deceive, silence may protect, but only action proves. And that is what we will explore next. Silence preserves energy, but silence without action is wasted. At some point, the energy you have stored, the ideas you have guarded, the plans you have nurtured, must break into movement. For in the end, the world rewards only results, never intentions. You may think great thoughts, you may make grand promises, you may talk of what you will do someday, but life is deaf to intentions. It listens only to action. The scoreboard of life does not record plans, it records results. And that is why action is the only proof of seriousness, the only proof of belief, the only proof of commitment. Without action, everything else is smoke. Consider the difference between the talker and the doer. The talker lives on recognition. He wants others to know what he intends. He thrives on the attention of announcing his goals, and for a time he feels good about it. But in the end, there is nothing to show. Years pass, and his words echo back to him, empty and unfulfilled. The doer, on the other hand, lives on outcomes. He speaks little, works much, and while he is often overlooked at the beginning, when the results come, they speak for him more loudly than words ever could. History does not remember the talkers. It remembers the builders, the creators, the men and women who acted. And here is the beauty of action. It builds momentum. A man may fear the task before him. He may hesitate and imagine all the ways it could go wrong, but the moment he takes even the smallest step, the fear begins to fade. Each action becomes proof to himself that he can do more. Each step strengthens confidence. And as confidence grows, the actions multiply. Soon, what seemed impossible becomes natural, because action has carried him beyond hesitation into momentum. Fear is strongest in waiting, never in doing. The man who acts discovers that courage grows with motion. Think of the Wright brothers. For years they worked quietly, building machines most people called foolish. Learned men dismissed them, newspapers ridiculed them, neighbors laughed at them. They might have defended themselves with words. They might have wasted time arguing, but they did not. They acted. They built. They tested. They failed, and they built again. And one day, their machine left the ground and flew. In that moment, every critic was silenced, every doubt erased, every ridicule forgotten. Words could never have achieved that. Action alone proved it. So let us be plain. The only language the world understands is results. You may explain yourself endlessly, you may defend your plans, you may insist that you will succeed someday. But nothing ends the argument like proof, and proof is action made visible. The man who acts needs no defense, because his results are his defense. The man who talks needs endless defense, because he has no results. So let me ask you, are you living on intentions, or are you living on outcomes? Do you spend your energy explaining, or do you spend it doing? Because in the end, only one of these is remembered. Words fade, intentions are forgotten, but results endure. And that is why action is not only the cure for fear, not only the builder of confidence, but the only proof that your plans were real. And this brings us to the next truth. For even action is shaped by something deeper. Two men may act, but one succeeds and the other fails, and the difference is not in the work alone, but in the spirit behind it. That spirit is attitude, joined with persistence. And that is where we must turn next. Action is the only proof, but action alone is not enough. Two men may work the same hours, take the same steps, pursue the same goal, and yet one achieves lasting success while the other falls short. The difference is not in their hands, but in their minds, not in what they do, but in the spirit in which they do it. Attitude is the multiplier of effort. It is the unseen current that either carries a man forward or pulls him back. A poor attitude turns even good work sour, while a great attitude transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Life reflects this law without fail, because the world is always a mirror of the spirit you project. If you walk into life with doubt, bitterness, and complaint, those qualities are reflected back to you in disappointment, failure, and rejection. But if you walk into life with gratitude, confidence, and expectancy, those qualities return to you in opportunity, encouragement, and success. And here is the most remarkable thing. True confidence does not announce itself. Quiet confidence is stronger than loud boasting. The lion does not roar to prove its strength. It walks silently, and its power is evident to all who see it. The loudest talker in the room is rarely the strongest, just as the man who insists on telling you what he will accomplish rarely accomplishes much. But the man who works quietly, with steady persistence, allows his results to speak for him, and when they do, the sound is louder than any words he could have spoken. His silence was not weakness, but strength contained. His persistence was not noise, but power in motion. Persistence is the companion of attitude. For even the right spirit must be carried beyond the moment of enthusiasm, beyond the first flush of excitement, into the long, unglamorous work of endurance. Most men act only while they feel like acting. Their enthusiasm rises for a day or a week, then fades, and when it fades, so does their effort. But the man who persists, who keeps going long after feelings have cooled, that man secures the victory. Feelings cannot be trusted, because they change like the weather. But persistence, joined with the right attitude, becomes a habit, and habits endure. Now imagine these two forces together, quiet confidence and steady persistence. One keeps your spirit high, the other keeps your feet moving. One shapes how the world responds to you, the other shapes how long you can continue until success is certain. With them, failure cannot hold you, doubt cannot defeat you, fear cannot stop you. Without them, even talent and opportunity are wasted. So, let me ask you, are you walking into life each day with a quiet, steady attitude of expectancy? Are you persisting long after others have quit, long after the applause has faded, long after the easy feelings have passed? Because that is where true results are born, not in the loud declaration, not in the quick burst of action, but in the silent, steady march of attitude and persistence working together. And this leads us to the final and highest truth. For attitude and persistence make a man strong, but strength is not an end in itself. The greatest power comes when you turn your results outward, when your life becomes more than personal success, when your quiet work grows into a purpose greater than yourself. That is where we must turn now. When all is said and done, when silence has preserved your strength, when action has proven your seriousness, when attitude has shaped your results, and persistence has carried you beyond feelings, there is still one more step, the highest and most liberating step of all. For true success is never measured by what you gain alone, but by what you give. A man who builds only for himself builds something too small. His goals, however lofty, will sooner or later lose their fire. His victories, however sweet, will fade. But a man who lives for a purpose greater than himself, for contribution, for service, for the value he brings to others, that man's work endures, and his results speak louder than any boast or promise ever could. Think of a river. If it tried to hoard its waters, to keep them for itself, it would become shallow, stagnant, lifeless. But because it pours itself out, because it gives to the land around it, it grows stronger, deeper, more powerful. So it is with your life. If you hoard your talents, your gifts, your opportunities, they shrink and wither. But if you pour them out in service, if you give freely, if you live as though entrusted with a mission, then your strength multiplies. Fear disappears, restlessness dissolves, and you discover that your purpose was never about you alone. And here is the great paradox. The man most tempted to talk about his plans is usually the one whose plans serve only himself. He seeks recognition because that recognition is all he is truly after. But the man who serves a purpose greater than himself feels no need to announce it. His mission is proof enough. His results are testimony enough. He has no time to waste in self-promotion because his life is already a promotion of the purpose he serves. And those who see him cannot help but notice, cannot help but be moved, cannot help but be influenced not by his words, but by his example. Now let us be plain. Self-centered goals fade quickly. They do not survive the hard days, they do not endure the long nights, they do not sustain you when enthusiasm runs out. But goals tied to service, to contribution, to a mission beyond yourself, these grow stronger the longer you carry them. They give you reason to persist when others quit, they give you courage when others fear, they give you energy when others tire. And because they are not built on talk but on silent, steady action, they speak for themselves, with a voice no words can match. So let me ask you, what is your purpose beyond talk? What mission will you serve that makes your life too large, too important to waste in idle words? Will you build only for yourself, or will you pour yourself out like the river, growing stronger the more you give? For when you choose the latter, you will never again feel the need to announce your plans. Your life will be the announcement, your results will be the voice, and the world will hear it clearly, long after the talkers have been forgotten. And with that, we are ready to draw this message together to close with the truth that talking drains energy, silence preserves it, action proves it, attitude shapes it, persistence secures it, and purpose crowns it. And so, we come to the end of this message, and perhaps the beginning of something far greater for you. We have seen why so many never achieve their goals because they waste their strength in words, because they talk too soon and too often about what they intend, mistaking sound for substance, promises for progress. We have seen how talking drains energy, how it releases steam that could have moved the engine forward, leaving only noise behind. We have seen the power of silence, how it preserves concentration, how it shields your plans from doubt and envy, how it allows your efforts to grow in private until they are strong enough to reveal themselves without fear. We have seen that silence must always lead to action, and that action is the only proof the world will ever respect. We have seen that attitude is the unseen current that multiplies or cancels action, and that persistence carries you beyond feelings into endurance. And we have lifted our eyes to the highest truth of all, that true results are not for your pride alone, but for the service of others, for the mission you were entrusted with, for the purpose that makes your life larger than yourself. These are not theories, they are laws, and they work in every life, yours included, without exception. So let me say it clearly. Do not waste your life in talk. Do not weaken your plans by announcing them before their time. Do not trade the satisfaction of action for the cheap comfort of words. Guard your strength in silence, direct it into action, carry it with the right attitude, persist until your results are undeniable, and live for a purpose so great that you never need to boast of it, because the work itself will speak louder than anything you could say. If you will do this, your life will be transformed. You will no longer be among the many who promise much and deliver little. You will be among the few whose lives speak for them, whose results stand as monuments, whose silence carries more weight than the words of 1,000 talkers. Make this your affirmation. I will not waste my energy in talk. I will act. I will persist. I will let my results speak for me. And because I live for a mission greater than myself, my life will be the proof. And now, before we part, I invite you to take the next step. If you want to hear the one law that explains why so many fail while so few succeed, if you want to understand the foundation of everything you have just heard, then watch my message called The Strangest Secret. In it you will hear, in the clearest words I ever spoke, the principle that shapes every life. We become what we think about. Click here, and let us continue this journey together.